Have you ever felt like you're standing at the edge of a cliff, with the ground crumbling beneath your feet? Not in a dramatic, life-or-death way, but in that quiet, persistent way where everything you thought was solid, your career, your financial security, your sense of who you are, suddenly feels uncertain? I've been sitting with Michael and Sarah for the past hour. They're both in their mid-40s. 2 children, ages 14 and 18. A mortgage, college tuition looming. And between AI advancements reshaping their industries and economic instability shrinking opportunities, they're facing a question that feels both utterly modern and timelessly human. How do we find our path when we can't even see our own strengths anymore? What struck me wasn't just their fear. It was how familiar their story felt. How many of us are standing at similar crossroads, wondering if what we've built our identities around still matters in this rapidly changing world. Michael is 46, a mid-level marketing manager at a company that's recently announced AI-driven restructuring. His department of 15 is now 5, and rumors suggest more cuts are coming. His expertise, crafting messaging strategies and coordinating campaigns, is increasingly being handled by AI tools that get better every month. Sarah, 44, worked as a freelance graphic designer before scaling back to part-time when their children were young. She's been trying to re-enter the workforce full-time for the past year, but finds herself competing with both younger designers with cutting-edge skills and sophisticated AI design tools that clients can access for a fraction of her rates. Their savings, once comfortable, have been steadily depleting. Their son James is 18, heading to college next fall with only partial scholarships. Their daughter Emma is 14, already worried about her own future in a world where the careers her parents prepared for seem to be disappearing. "I don't even know what I'm good at anymore," Michael told me, his voice quiet but steady. "Everything I built my career on, my eye for trends, my ability to coordinate teams, my understanding of consumer psychology, there's an AI that does it faster now. And I keep asking myself, what do I actually bring to the table that can't be replaced?" Sarah nodded beside him. "And it's not just about us. It's about showing our kids that there's a way forward. But how do we guide them when we're lost ourselves?" This is a story about finding your path when the map keeps changing. About rediscovering your strengths when everything you identified with is called into question. And about how ancient wisdom might offer us a compass when modern certainties fail. The first person I thought of when hearing Michael and Sarah's story was their friend David. At 47, David had built a successful career as a financial analyst until 3 years ago, when his entire department was replaced by algorithmic systems. Unlike many of his colleagues who scrambled to learn the new systems or fought against the changes, David took a different approach. "I realized I'd been identifying with the wrong things," he told me over coffee. "I thought my value was in my technical skills, my ability to spot patterns in data, to build models, to analyze trends. But those were just tools. They weren't me." David had spent 6 months in what he called the wilderness, a period of genuine soul-searching where he questioned everything about his professional identity. He'd eventually found his way to a smaller firm where he now works as a kind of translator between the algorithmic systems and the human clients, helping people understand and trust the insights the AI provides. "I'm making less money," he admitted. "But I'm using parts of myself that no algorithm can replicate. My empathy, my ability to build trust, my understanding of human fears and hopes around money." On the other side of Michael and Sarah's story stands Sarah's sister, Jennifer. Unlike David, Jennifer had responded to economic uncertainty by doubling down on security. She'd taken a government job with stable benefits despite finding the work unfulfilling. She'd cut back on all non-essential spending. She discouraged her own children from pursuing risky, creative careers, steering them toward fields she believed would be AI-proof. "You can't eat passion," she'd told Sarah during a tense family dinner. "Your responsibility is to your children's security, not your self-fulfillment." Between these two perspectives, David's emphasis on rediscovering authentic strengths beyond technical skills, and Jennifer's focus on security above all else. Michael and Sarah felt torn. Both approaches made sense. Both came from a place of care, but neither felt quite right for their family. It was their son James who inadvertently offered a third perspective. One evening, as Michael vented his frustrations about feeling obsolete in the workplace, James looked up from his homework and asked a question that stopped his father mid-sentence. "Dad, if you didn't need the money at all, what would you actually want to do with your time?" The question hung in the air, both absurdly simple and profoundly disruptive. Michael had been so focused on what he could still offer the market, on how to remain valuable in economic terms, that he'd stopped asking what actually brought him alive. "I don't know," he finally answered. And in that honest admission, something shifted. The turning point came on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Michael and Sarah had decided to do something they hadn't done in years. They cleared the dining room table, put away their phones, and took out large sheets of paper and colored markers. "We're going back to basics," Sarah explained to their puzzled children. "We're mapping ourselves out." For the next 3 hours, each family member created what they called a life map, a visual representation of their interests, skills, values, and dreams. Not focused on careers or money, but on the underlying patterns of what engaged them, what they cared about, what made them feel most themselves. Michael's map revealed something surprising. While his career had been built around marketing strategy and team coordination, his moments of greatest engagement and flow had always involved something different. Situations where he was helping others navigate complex systems, translating complicated information into actionable insights. "I realized I've always been a kind of bridge," he said, "between technical teams and creative teams, between data and human decisions, between complexity and clarity." Sarah's map showed a different pattern. Her design work had always been strongest when it involved direct collaboration with clients who were trying to express something meaningful but couldn't find the visual language for it. Her satisfaction came not from the technical execution, but from the moment when a client felt truly seen and understood through her work. "I'm not just a designer," she realized. "I'm a visual listener. I hear what people are trying to say and help them see it." As they shared their maps with each other, a tense moment arose. Jennifer had stopped by unexpectedly and, seeing the activity, couldn't hide her disapproval. "This is sweet," she said, her tone suggesting the opposite. "But how exactly does this pay the bills?" Before Michael or Sarah could respond, Emma, their 14-year-old daughter, spoke up. "Aunt Jennifer, isn't it possible that understanding who you really are might actually help you find better ways to make money, instead of just chasing whatever job seems safe?" Jennifer started to dismiss her niece's question, but something in Emma's earnest expression made her pause. "Maybe," she conceded, "but safety matters too." "What if the safest thing," James added quietly, "is actually knowing your real strengths, the ones that can't be replaced by AI or outsourced?" The question lingered in the room, challenging the family to reconsider what security really meant in a world where traditional career paths were disappearing beneath their feet. "I don't know," he finally answered. And in that honest admission, something shifted. From a psychological perspective, what Michael and Sarah were experiencing reflects a phenomenon that psychologists call identity foreclosure. This occurs when people prematurely commit to an identity, often a professional one, without adequately exploring their authentic interests, values, and strengths. In stable economic times, identity foreclosure can lead to midlife crises or quiet desperation. But in times of rapid technological and economic change, it can create profound vulnerability. When the external structures that supported our foreclosed identities begin to crumble, whether through AI disruption, economic downturns, or industry changes, we're left not just without practical security, but without a sense of who we are. Research by psychologist James Marcia suggests that healthy identity development requires both exploration, trying different roles and possibilities, and commitment, making choices based on that exploration. Many adults, however, made commitments decades ago based on limited exploration and in a very different economic landscape. The psychological challenge for Michael and Sarah wasn't just practical, finding new jobs or income streams, but existential, rediscovering who they were beyond the professional identities they constructed in a world that no longer exists. From a philosophical perspective, their situation echoes what existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre called bad faith, the tendency to identify ourselves with fixed roles or essences rather than recognizing our fundamental freedom and responsibility to create ourselves through our choices. Modern philosopher Martha Nussbaum extends this thinking in her capabilities approach, arguing that human flourishing depends not on wealth or status, but on having the freedom to develop and express our core human capabilities. In this view, economic systems should be judged by how well they enable people to develop their unique potential, not just by how much wealth they generate. For Michael and Sarah, this philosophical lens offered a radical reframing. Perhaps their current crisis wasn't just a threat to their financial security, but an opportunity to reclaim their authentic capabilities from the roles they'd been playing. But it was in Buddhist wisdom that they found their most profound guidance. The Buddha taught about anicca, impermanence, the understanding that everything in life is constantly changing, including our identities, careers, and economic systems. Attachment to any fixed identity or status inevitably leads to dukkha, suffering, when change occurs, as it always will. The Buddhist concept of anatta, non-self, suggests that what we call ourself is not a fixed entity but a fluid process, constantly shaped by conditions and choices. Our strengths aren't static attributes we possess, but dynamic expressions that emerge in relationship with our environment. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches, your work is to discover your work, and then with all your heart, give yourself to it. This isn't about finding a permanent career identity, but about continually discovering how your unique gifts can meet the world's needs in changing circumstances. For Michael and Sarah, these ancient teachings offered a profound shift in perspective. Their current crisis wasn't just a practical problem to solve, but an invitation to practice non-attachment to their professional identities and to discover more fundamental aspects of who they were. 3 months after their family mapping exercise, Michael made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Instead of desperately trying to prove his value in his shrinking marketing department, he approached his company's leadership with a proposal. He wanted to create a new role as an AI human collaboration specialist, helping teams across the company learn to work effectively with the new AI tools rather than competing against them. I realized that my real strength isn't in the technical aspects of marketing, he explained to his bewildered boss. It's in helping people navigate complex systems and find their unique value within them. His proposal was met with initial skepticism. The company was focused on cutting costs, not creating new positions. But Michael persisted, gathering data on productivity losses due to employee resistance to AI tools and demonstrating how his role could accelerate adoption and effectiveness. 2 weeks later, he was given a 6-month trial period for his new position, at a 15% pay cut, but with the potential to demonstrate value that could secure his future. Sarah took an equally unexpected path. Rather than continuing to compete directly with AI design tools or younger designers with cutting-edge technical skills, she leaned into what her life map had revealed as her core strength: her ability to deeply listen and translate people's unspoken needs into visual form. She began offering what she called visual listening sessions for small businesses and nonprofits, collaborative workshops where she helped organizations articulate their deeper purpose and values through visual exploration. The technical execution of the resulting designs could be handled by junior designers or even AI tools, but the human connection and insight she provided couldn't be automated. "I'm charging more for fewer hours," she told me with a mixture of surprise and pride. "Because I'm offering something genuinely scarce, deep attention and visual empathy, instead of technical skills that are becoming commoditized." When Jennifer saw these changes, her reaction was mixed. "I still think you're taking unnecessary risks," she told Sarah during a sisterly lunch. "But I have to admit, you both seem lighter somehow. More yourselves." Sarah nodded. "We are taking risks. But we were already at risk pretending to be something we're not in a world that's changing too fast for that strategy to work." David, who had gone through his own reinvention years earlier, offered perhaps the most insightful observation. "What you're both doing," he told Michael and Sarah over dinner, "isn't just finding new ways to make money. You're redefining what security actually means. It's not about clinging to a role or identity that the world might not need anymore. It's about knowing your core gifts so well that you can adapt them to whatever the world does need." Their children were watching closely. James, preparing for college, had shifted his focus from choosing a safe major to identifying the underlying patterns of what engaged him most deeply. Emma, at 14, was beginning to explore her own strengths with a curiosity and openness that her parents now modeled. "The strangest part," Michael reflected one evening, "is that I'm actually more secure now, even with less certainty, because I'm no longer betting everything on a specific role or industry staying stable. I'm betting on my ability to bring value in changing circumstances." 6 months later, Michael's trial position had been made permanent. Sarah's visual listening practice had a small but growing client base. Their financial situation was still tight. James would need to work part-time through college, and they'd downsize to a smaller home. But the acute anxiety that had characterized their lives had transformed into something different, a grounded confidence in their ability to adapt. "We're not immune to change," Sarah reflected. "No one is. But we're no longer trying to be." There's a teaching from Zen Buddhism that seems particularly relevant to their journey. A monk asked Master Zhaozhou, "What is the meaning of Zen?" The master replied, "The cypress tree in the courtyard." When the confused monk pressed for clarification, the master simply repeated, "The cypress tree in the courtyard." The teaching points to the importance of seeing what's actually in front of you, not your ideas about it, not your fears or hopes about it, but the reality itself. For Michael and Sarah, this meant seeing their actual strengths and values, not just their professional identities or financial anxieties. If you find yourself in a similar place, questioning your path, unsure of your strengths, worried about providing for those who depend on you, consider this practice. Set aside an hour this week. Turn off your devices. Take out a blank sheet of paper. Ask yourself not, "What job should I have?" or "How can I make more money?" but "When do I feel most alive? Most myself? When do I lose track of time because I'm so engaged in what I'm doing?" The answers might surprise you. They might not immediately translate into a career path or income stream, but they will point you toward your true north, the direction that aligns with who you actually are, not just the roles you've been playing. As the Buddha taught in the DhammaMirror, your work is to discover your work, and then with all your heart, give yourself to it. This isn't a promise that the path will be easy or that financial concerns will magically resolve. Michael and Sarah still face real challenges, but it is a recognition that even in times of profound uncertainty, there is a way forward that honors both our responsibilities to others and our deepest selves. If this story resonates with you, I invite you to try the family mapping exercise that Michael and Sarah used. You don't need artistic skill, just paper, something to write with, and the courage to look beyond the roles you've been playing to the patterns that make you uniquely you. And perhaps share one insight from your map in the comments. Not only might it help clarify your own understanding, but it could be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. Remember, the most secure foundation in changing times isn't a particular job or skill set. It's the deep knowledge of your authentic gifts and the flexibility to express them in whatever ways the world most needs.